Singapore and parts of Asia, and obviously paralyze a lot of most of the airports in Western Europe, causing more than $1 billion in losses to airline industry, and not to count losses in hotels revenues, airport revenues, and so on elsewhere. Unlike 100 years ago, when wars could be fought somewhere in continental Europe and limited in territory and in its impact, any event taking place today, anywhere in the world, might, and I emphasize, might affect the rest of us. One being climate change. I was talking with, a few weeks ago with Prime Minister Hatoyama of Japan. We had a lengthy, more than 2-hour conversation, and I told him, I'm a non-smoker. I don't smoke. Never smoked in my life. And, but I have read about passive smoking. People who do not smoke, but always in contact with people who smoke a lot, at home, in schools, in office, in restaurants, they also inhale a lot of nicotine, cancer-causing agents. Well, the same can be said of islands, small countries, where we are not pollutants. Actually, the developing world contribute with less than 1% of global emissions. And yet, like non-smokers, we are affected by the heavy smokers of the United States, Europe, China, India, and so on. So we are in a global world with all its benefits, its advantages, because the globalized world, industrialization of the past 100 years brought a lot of benefits to humanity. But as most things that human beings do, it has also its problems. It downs its negative effects. One, precisely the damage that has been done to the environment by industrialization, modernization. We have harvested the benefits of modernization in medicine, in life expectancy, from a life expectancy of 30 years, 40 years, 100 years ago in many parts of the world, to today in Japan, over 80, and elsewhere around the world, industrial world. Huge life expectancy, but with that come also cost to all of us. In peace building, whenever there is a conflict somewhere, whenever there is war, whenever there are people killing each other, or whenever there are people dying of starvation, of poverty, or of natural disasters, we must all feel the pain, the suffering of others. But to build peace, nothing more important than we begin in ourselves as individuals, in homes, turning our homes into safe havens where domestic violence is completely absent, turning our streets the safest for our children, for women. The schools must have the best environment of all, where children not only have access to all tools of learning, but also have a loving and care in schools, from teachers and from colleagues. That's what we must do, each of us in our own countries. That's what I try to do in our own country, that has a tragic similar story to yours. Let me say that coming to Cambodia, participating in this great initiative of the International Peace Foundation, under the very persistent, patient work, leadership of Dr. Uwe Morowitz, I have to say that I am not coming here to teach lessons about peace. Because if any community, any nation, any people, anywhere in the world, know about tragedy, about suffering, know about tolerance, would be the Cambodian people. I do not know much about your country. I've been there 3 times already, but always in passing, basically, but have read enough over the years. And one of the most admirable features of the Cambodian people is the lack of hatred and revenge. There might be anger. When we talk, we hear survivors of the killing fields. You hear the pain and anger. But you don't witness, we don't read about indiscriminate acts of revenge against perpetrators of past violence who are still around. Cambodians patiently wait for the conclusions of the International Cambodian Tribunal that is underway. That is admirable. People often invoke the example of South Africa as an example of tolerance, of forgiveness. But I would say the Cambodian people, Cambodian experience is one of the most illustrative of the capacity, the ability of people to forgive. Forgiveness is not equated with forget. Forgiveness cannot be equated with impunity or lack of justice. That's why I say I have not come to Cambodia to teach, to lecture on peacemaking, but maybe to share with you our own experience, my own experience, and maybe only to tell you, to urge you to persist in this path that you are following, in rebuilding your communities, your countries from years of suffering, from one of the worst tragedies after World War II, heal the wounds, continue to rebuild the democratic institutions. Maybe they are fragile, maybe they are imperfect. Which democracy in the world, even those who have been there for decades, can claim to be perfect? Is American democracy a perfect one? For President Barack Obama to have been elected, he had to spend, I understand, several $100 billion, one of the most expensive electoral exercises ever. For a U.S. senator, I have many, many friends who are senators, so I know how much they spend to be elected senator in the U.S. Some $50 billion, $100 billion. Is this perfect democracy? Imperfect? Well, I don't judge that. And when they cannot even count the votes properly in Florida some 8 years ago, even Cuba offered to help. This is only to say I'm not making fun of U.S. democracy, because I have the greatest admiration, respect, particularly when they elect Barack Obama. If any lesson the U.S., the American society can give us, is how they elect a man called Barack Obama. He's black, mother American, father Kenyan, not rich, grew up in poor neighborhoods, including in Indonesia, in Hawaii, Yes, he was bright, brilliant, and went on to study law at Harvard, taught constitutional law in Chicago, but working with NGOs in Chicago, organizing communities. Well, it tells the extraordinary transformation, transition of the American society, where 50 years ago, it was big novelty that an Irish Catholic was elected president, because back then, even a Catholic Irish to be elected president of the United States was unprecedented, because normally the job of president of the United States was reserved for Protestant Anglo-Saxons. So 50 years ago when John Kennedy was elected, it was unprecedented. Today, groundbreaking. So I'm not making fun of or diminishing in any way American democracy, but only to say, maybe some are almost perfect, maybe Norwegian democracy, Swedish, maybe, but most are not. We keep improving. And therefore, I would say, submit that Cambodians have made tremendous progress from a country devastated by war, traumatized by conflict, and yet today you are where you are. I have been here a few years ago, and I'm very impressed with the changes occurring. So congratulations to all of you. I would like to share with you a bit of information, facts about Timor-Leste, and there, from my sharing the experience with you, you can draw lessons, maybe, or conclusions. We are a very small country. Today, 1.2 million. If you look at the statistic, I have one here from the Economist booklet. We have the 4th highest birth rate in the world. Should we be proud of that? At least somewhere we have to be the first. The first, not the first, but the 4th in having the largest families in the world. 6 children per family. I wish instead of having the highest fertility rate, we had the highest productive rate in terms of agriculture, industry, or in our civil administration, and so on. I heard from some humble Cambodians that Cambodians also don't have a very hard-working public administration. So I was pleased that we are similar to Cambodians, or Cambodians are similar to us. I was asked whether we have any siesta after lunch. We say, no, we don't bother with that because most of our civil servants don't work most of the day anyway. We have severe problems of poverty to overcome, illiteracy, underdevelopment in agriculture. Most of the people live off subsistence agriculture with very low productivity per hectare, 2 tons per hectare. In Cambodia, I presume 5 to 8 tons per hectare. We are experimenting with new seeds, with new technology, more investment. In some areas, productivity went up impressively to 8 tons per hectare, but that's only in sample areas. Most people still don't have electricity. Most schools still overcrowded and with few books. But at the same time, if you look at still the same booklet, you will see that Timor-Leste has the highest surplus in the world of